Welcome to episode 1 of Entering Empires. Here we have Marylou here. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about everything that's on the table. So let's just get right into it. How about you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely, Connor. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first ever podcast, so I'm very excited. I am a digital marketer. I specialize in paid ads, social media, and more recently, graphic design. Mostly my business revolves around social media, so everything else has been I've used it to supplement my social media skills. But I do enjoy both the strategy and the content creation, which is why I decided for this combination. And I help businesses elevate their presence online, which I think everyone needs nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think? You said you're kind of more newer to business, right?
Yes, I started my business in January. I do have 4 years of experience in the field of marketing, but I started my business in January, so it's been 4 months.
Okay, so even though even though it's only been like 4 months, what would you say is an early struggle you found with being in business rather than being, I guess, kind of in the office in the workforce?
I think the number one thing is no one tells you what to do. Like there's a million things that I could be focusing on. Some people tell me, oh, you should create posts for yourself on social media, even though I'm already creating a ton of posts for my clients. Or like, should I launch a newsletter? Should I tap into this thing, into this platform? Should I post more on LinkedIn, Instagram? So nobody really tells you what to do and
Mm-hmm.
what's like best for you to get more work. I should I get around Google Ads, Meta Ads? And I think that you really need to be a self-starter to be an entrepreneur. That's the number one thing because there are people that don't do anything unless they've been told by somebody else. And to be entrepreneurs, everything depends on you. And a lot of people want to be their own bosses, but they don't realize that it is tough because they have to be strict with themselves. So yeah, this is I believe
Yeah,
too many things, and I don't know what to focus on essentially.
that's the thing I was kind of thinking about. It's like, through the years we grow up just naturally in life. This is how it should be too. I'm not against it, but we're conditioned to follow orders, right? Like we're always conditioned to, if even in school we're conditioned to know when to do this and this, and it's helpful. Like for the most part, it's helpful. By our parents, it's helpful. It guides us, but at a certain point, you get older. Say you do want to break off from like the classic like workforce 9 to 5 thing, and you want to go more in an entrepreneurship direction. You're right. You just have to listen. You're gonna have to do stuff yourself. You're gonna have to discipline yourself. No one's telling you what to do. And then also, you said something there that was good, where it's like sometimes you're focusing so much on the client, you're not focusing on the business as much. You know what I mean? You're focusing directly on the client.
Definitely.
Like, oh, I gotta do a new page on their website. I have to, you know what I mean? I have to do posts on their Instagram. Then your Instagram's dry for like 4 months. You're like, oh darn, yeah, should have done that.
Yeah, like it's like to me, like the three things that I need to focus on is working for my clients, getting new work, and developing my skills. And I have to find the time for all three of them.
Yeah.
And it's all of them are important, but and right now I'm not in the position where I can outsource work, so I really have to do everything myself. Maybe in the future, as the business grows, I will be outsourcing work and I will getting, maybe a VA or something like that. But right now, it's everything depends on me.
Yeah. How old are you again? You're
I'm 25.
25.
25.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
relatively young. Do you have any? Do you maybe have anything that's unique to young entrepreneurs? That older entrepreneurs, like people kind of been in the game for, I don't know, like 30 years, like older people. Things that they kind of, maybe advantages they had that we don't have, or maybe disadvantages that they have that we don't have. Also, like what are the pros and cons of being a young entrepreneur today, and instead
Absolutely. I
of years
think
ago?
being online 24/7, having such like affordable options and like having so many solutions is both a blessing and a curse because now everyone, like, the good thing is everyone can be an entrepreneur and the bad things is that everyone can be an entrepreneur. In the past, I think, yes, maybe there were less opportunities, but there was not as much clout as there is right now. Like I literally have to compete with thousands of people worldwide. It's not just a matter of competing with somebody in your city, in your neighborhood. Now it's a matter of competing not just with like the big, very big companies. Like some people are in the financial field, they have to compete with the banks, so like they already know that. Me, I don't think there's an agency that is in Canada or in the US that's like, my one on one competitor, but there are bigger agencies that are doing, started maybe years ago and are, charging their clients like $10,000 a month, and I need to start lower than that. So I believe that having so many options and having so many opportunities is good for you because you can start your business, but it also means you have like more competition. And I think that older entrepreneurs like don't understand that we've been through a pandemic, we've been through two wars, a recession, crazy inflation, and their lattes were not like $6 like they are right now, and they think, oh, you're just like lazy that you don't want to save money to build it. Like no, it's just a tough time, and it's not. And as you said before, we're gonna talk about mental health, and it's difficult to find the balance between protecting your mental health and hustling, because hustle sometimes does affect your mental health.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about that too is it's like, yeah, like you said, a lot of older people think that kind of people now who are doing more digital stuff are more lazy. But the truth is, honestly, like I've done a little bit of I've done a little bit of like kind of labor things in the past. Like I've done some landscaping, I've done some other things. I also did a full internship in an office, and I can tell you that if you're in the office, you want to be standing up, and if you're standing up, you want to be in the office. So the grass is always green on the other side. You know what I mean? So they're claiming we're lazy. It's like you're jealous, and we also want to stand up sometimes too. So it's just like I don't know. They're different paths, and I feel like the type of people usually go down on somebody for kind of they're like, oh, you took the lazier path. It's like no, this is just what I want. So we got to relax here. You know what I mean? It's not like I agree with you though that a lot of older people definitely think that this generation's lazier, but like you said, the competition is it's not just like it's not just double as high. It's literally like the whole world is competing with each other in business now. Like you said, it's not just a small local area, so it's that much harder. It's not just a little bit harder. It's way harder to do it. So people that are going to business nowadays are definitely, I think, they're bigger risk takers than they were 10 years ago. And if we're here to define that entrepreneurship is taking risks, us young people are taking the biggest risks that there is because there's far more to lose, or far less to gain, maybe more. So it's kind of things like that. We're definitely not the lazier group out of the two. We might be like physically, but it's semantics there.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we're living in a very expensive society right now, which is, there are people that have been, in their jobs for like 10 years and now they're making, 100K, and we are just, yeah, it's completely different. Like, as you said, there are people that are lazy, like 100%, but it's not like the stereotype of the generation. Like, we might look lazy to some people just because we have so much on our shoulders. We have so much burden and so many barriers that are created by the digital world, which also allowed us to be visible and things like that. So I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, as I said.
yeah, and I think I've definitely dealt with that a lot with older people, like kind of with an ego. They almost have like an ego, for not I don't know why it's like an ego for not working with modern technology and doing stuff modern. It's like I met with like there's a lot of tradespeople who are like that I met with maybe trying to get a lead or something where I'm like, hey, I can run your social media, I can do this, I can help your clients kind of keep up with you. They're like, I don't need that social media stuff. I'm okay. It's like I don't need that stuff. It's like, well, listen, you might be fine now, but it's to a point where I was about to say 5, 10 years, but honestly 2 years, 3 years from now, you're gonna need it because the times are changing. They've been changing for a long time, and not brick and mortar, but I'm saying like if you don't use social media now, you got to get in the game, or you're gonna get left behind. That's how I kind of see it. So
True. It's funny because, and you also have a digital agency, right? You're also in digital marketing. So the other day I was taking part in, it was a group of West End entrepreneurs because I live in Toronto, near the West End, not on the West End, but and they all had like either physical stores or they offered more of a product. Some of them offer services, but the point is none of them was in digital marketing. And so they start like, okay, so what are our problems today? What are three things that we absolutely need to do that we don't find time to do? And they were all like digital marketing. They were the number one was the social media. Second, probably running my Google ads, and third was probably I have to get my newsletter going. And they call it we need to have social proof. And so I right now I'm still in I do have clients. I'm still in the phase of like building my client base. What I find a lot is like people that's claim that social media is the number one priority and then they want to pay for it, or they kind of undervalue it a lot, and like, oh, like why is it so expensive to post like three times on social media? Oh, because there's work behind it. It's not just posting on social media. And so it was so funny because I was the only marketing person in there. And I was like, maybe I should like I was listening to it from like the other side of things. And it's like, marketing is a pain for everybody. And social media, to me, social media is like very intuitive. It is not for other people. But it's funny because I wondered to myself, like, would these people pay for my services then, since it's such a pain for them? And so I asked them, what would make it a no-brainer for you to buy these services? And they were like, if you give me like 100% certainty that I will get my return investment, then yes, you can take my money. Like, that's not how marketing works, and that's not how business works. Like, if you get into business and you say, I'm gonna get into this just if I see 100% return immediately in 3 months, in 1 month. That's not how it works. Like, that's just not how it works.
And especially in marketing too.
Yeah, and so, but it was so funny because every one of them was like social media. I hate making reels. And I'm like, oh, it took me 1 hour to make this reel. I'm like, yeah, then why do you want to pay $5? Not saying that they said you have to pay for that, but like, why do you value one reel, which takes you an entire hour to make, for $5? Like, would you make it for $5? No, you charge more, and that's why I charge more than that. And but yeah, like pricing, getting into like pricing conversation is always like a struggle. But I want to quote a dear friend of mine who's also she's in business with her friend, and they do have an agency as well. And she told me, honey, when choosing your pricing, pick up a number that scares you and double it. That's how much you should. And I'm like, yeah. And I want to give a shout out to her. Shout out to Maya. I love you. And but yeah, so it's just funny because that day I got the opportunity to ask these entrepreneurs questions, and what do you? Okay, so marketing is a pain. You don't have budget for it, so why would it make it worthwhile for you to pay for marketing? And I got my answer there, and I'll probably see them again because they have like in-person meetings every month. So that was pretty interesting, but it was really funny. I have to say.
I find with marketing, the people who are willing to pay, especially for agencies, it's like they're either not willing to pay a dime or they're willing to pay anything. There's only two things. Like, that's why I like when you said, you're like, oh, pick up pricing. Pick whatever price, and then that scares you, then double it, because the people who are going to pay for your service are going to pay a lot anyways. There's just some people who are literally like, if you're doing outreach, you're not going to find them. Like, they won't pay anything. They're not down for it. Like, same thing with me. Like, I realize, especially with my new outreach strategy, because I'm using Facebook a lot, I'll get a lot of responses in Facebook, and they're like, oh, are you offering no cost? Ha ha ha. Like, people making jokes. I'm like, no, you got to pay for the service. But, it is good service, and that's what's important, especially. But, yeah, definitely. And the thing about marketing too is a lot of the time, what an agency is you're basically just a group of like a normal company will have a marketing team, kind of. Like, some companies will have a marketing team in-house, and we're just, like, marketing agencies are just a out-of-house marketing team. So a lot of the time, you're competing with people who already have a whole marketing team, and you're trying to replace that. So it's definitely more of a, I guess, a smaller pool of possible clients that you could even sign, because there's people who wouldn't pay. There's people who already have in-house marketing. Big companies already have in-house marketing. And then so you're kind of just dealing with like small businesses who are willing to pay who need help. And that's small. That's a small amount of people. That's not, you know what I mean? That's not huge.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm mostly like, I think the biggest barrier right now is to really get into the like finding the clients that can't pay anything for your services, as you said. That is the biggest struggle because you have to, where do I find these people? Because these are people that have money and you don't have money, so you need to get in the spaces where the of people that have money while having no money. One thing that I do is that I actually volunteer a lot. Sometimes, so I do try to, like sometimes my social battery is a bit down. But if I really made like, if I really was like a social blog, I would probably be talking to millionaires and I have met millionaires. And I've kind of see like, not to get into like more details, but I have met people that are in the millions, and one thing that I noticed is that it's not that they're out of touch with reality, but they do think that because I made it, then I'm better than you. And they do think
Mm,
that they're special and better than anyone else,
yeah,
which, I mean, I think I'm special because I'm me, but not because look at these peasants and I am rich, Like,
yeah,
yes, you are in the, there's like 1% of millionaires in the world, that's fine. But maybe you're not in the 1% of other things. Like maybe you have a very basic personality. And so it's just like, it's interesting talking to these people, but the thing that I would recommend people to do is to volunteer, because I volunteered at events and I got the chance to meet different people in different stages. And if you don't have money, you sort of have to get in those rooms of people that do have money, and you have to get it somehow. But I'm still, still looking for those like high ticket clients that will hopefully get me referrals to other high ticket clients and getting into the, that kind of price range. I think that's the hardest thing. And then I don't want to say everything will be easier, but it's talking to the people that can pay anything for you.
yeah. You're putting yourself in the right positions, right? That's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find with a lot of kind of like getting in the millions range. Like I think to combat, because the thing is everybody's trying to get to that level, especially in business, right? Like we're all trying to get there, but I think it's important to gear ourselves up mentally and emotionally, and like just grow as a person before we get to that, so we can, as we grow as a person, we can try to grow our net worth as well, so we don't end up being like an egotistical millionaire. You know what I mean? Like 1%, we're looking down on everybody else. It's important that like we should try to humble ourselves now, so we don't have to do it later, kind of thing. But we also it's also important because it's weird because if you look at traits here, like the people who are egotistical tend to work the hardest. We have to switch that in society and all work hard, even when we're humble. We have to humbly work hard, And I think a lot of younger people are doing that, but I think a lot of younger people are also going the egotistical range too, and kind of being more, I guess, like commanding. I also wanted to ask you because you said you went to a West End like networking event kind of thing.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It's a group, Facebook group called West End Entrepreneurs.
Mhm. What do you find? What kind of information do you get? Do you think from those networking events? Like how successful do you think it is in like getting leads or just talking to people or learning things?
It is definitely. So I started doing online events when I first started my business, even before, but to meet people. But yeah, nothing replaces in-person interaction. And right now I do have my business card. So people say that business cards are dead, but when somebody asks you, you have a business card, or oh, where can I find you? Like instead of pulling out the very awkward LinkedIn, and you can just say, hey, here's my business card. So definitely, I don't go to an event expecting to make any sales. But maybe I could find this person that I'm gonna keep in touch with for a couple months, and I check in with people, not just with clients or potential clients, but with people generally. Hey, how's it going? Anything new with you? And of course, there's always the question, how's your marketing strategy going? But definitely meeting people in person. Then you might meet somebody, and then you meet them at another event. And I know that I meet a lot of like you need to be in events that's of mostly other entrepreneurs, or at least I target. So I'm a B2B business, so I target other businesses. There are some events that are targeted for job seekers, that are not job fair. So you have in a room of people that are looking for work. And once it was so funny because I it was a Toronto Marketing Hub event, and there were both entrepreneurs and job seekers and employed individuals, and there was a group of girls that I think were just fresh out of university, or they wanted to get or like they were about to finish university, and they were all looking for co-ops. And the second I said I have my agency, they'll look at me like, wow, she's got power, she's got money. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I need that. And then one of them reached out to me afterwards, saying, if you want to expand your team, and I realized she listened to nothing that I said. I did say, all right, I have an agency, but right now it's just me, and it's growing. And we did have a conversation, and she didn't register any of that. So it's like, kind of brings me back to when I was doing this as a job seeker, and now I'm on the other end, and like, would I hire somebody that just sends like a very general message to me? Like, probably not. So like, even whether you're a the thing as a job seeker is much harder because like you should, you kind of don't know what's going on within the company. Like they might have a marketing department, but they might need that one person. As an entrepreneur, I think that you can position yourself as I'm independent. You don't need to pay for my insurance. You don't have to pay for anything. You just pay my fees, and I will send you an invoice every month. So I don't know, I find it very much easier to network as an entrepreneur. But no, like I definitely, there's like always that question, oh, how's your marketing strategy going? And then if they're a business owner and they say, oh yeah, it's all good, I'm like, okay, amazing. Like let's keep in touch. But mostly like meeting people, building those connections, and following up with people over and over again. And you'll find people you click with. Like, cause like, oh yeah, the people that are responsive. If somebody's like not responsive, then just let them go. But if you find those people that really resonate with you or are interested in your services, maybe they cannot pay for them right now, but maybe they'll be able to pay for them in the future. I got people reaching out to me after 2 months.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm looking for in networking events.
That's kind of similar because it's interesting because the first client I ever had was about a year ago when I started the agency. It was about a month after I started it. I was just cold emailing every day. I got our first client, and then I was seeing him for months and months and months, and we ended up kind of losing connection in the summer. And if you look like around November, December, he calls me back, and now he's our biggest client again. Our biggest client. We're working with him every day. It's like you said, it's important because you don't know if they're willing to pay for it now, but they're going to be willing to pay for it one day. And 5-10 years down the line, you've already built those connections, and they're basically friends at that point. So they already trust you. They feel safe with you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of better to do that, to go to events and meet people like that. Also, I was thinking we can maybe talk about mental health in business or just mental health in general, and we could kind of go over some of that stuff. So just let me know, kind of tell the people what you think about that in general.
For sure. So I am to me it's mental health is very big because I said before, like I kind of grew up even like years ago. Let's say I started my self-development journey when I was probably 19, like 18, 19. There's like the hustle mentality and all this stuff. And it's not like you have to find a way, like a middle ground between being too soft with yourself, because there are people that are too soft with themselves, and being too harsh. So it's like I think I'm pushing myself out a lot in many ways, and not just in business, because there are other areas of your life that might be suffering. And like, can you push yourself in all areas? No, you cannot push yourself in all areas. You have to kind of balance. And so this mentality of like always be working, like I see even like YouTubers that do in good faith, they create study with me for 16 hours. So I'm getting diagnosed with ADHD, which right now is not diagnosed, but I do think I have it. And to me, concentrating is really tough. Like concentrating for 1 hour is really tough. So it's like when I see people studying for 16 hours, I'm always like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I very undisciplined? And then more recently, I found out that no, I mean, I started getting educated really about ADHD, which is not just, oh, you have too much energy. it's you have too much energy that you cannot sit down. Like even when I was in school, and now it makes total sense, is that I really could not go over 1 hour, 1.5 hours of class if I and everyone around me was not fidgeting. It was just chill, and they're sitting in their chair, and like I don't feel that. Like I feel that I have to move. I feel so like studying or working for 16 hours and keeping my attention. That's a lot. And right now, I still do not have an answer on how to solve my problem. I'm still figuring it out. Sometimes it feels impossible because I don't have money for treatment and diagnose and stuff like that. So like, it's kind of like how do I become a productive human being? As I said, going back to what I said before, that you have to be a self starter. I am a self starter. It's just sometimes I go very slow and I don't, and I feel guilty and like, oh my god, like am I so undisciplined? Yada yada yada. But it's not that. It's just a condition. So how do you distinguish being lazy from it's just something that I have in my head that other people don't have, and that's why they have the advantage. And for some people, unless you look sick, unless you really look like you're struggling, no, you're fine.
Yeah.
And I had a really bad experience at CAMH, and I'm sorry to like say this, but I waited 6 hours to talk to a psychiatrist who literally told me, she asked me, "Did you finish your studies?" And I said, "Yes." Then you don't have ADHD because if you had ADHD, you wouldn't have finished your study because it had been too hard. And I'm like, that does. I know a ton of people that finish their studies and are suffering with ADHD, so or other conditions, and I feel that there's still like this unless you look very very sick, you're not sick and you're totally fine. Like no, it's like destroying my life little by little, and I have enough foresight to know that I don't want to get to that point. I need help before. So yeah, this is I think it's always tough for me to find the middle ground between being too soft with myself and too harsh. And sometimes I am too harsh, and I do have a very strict routine right now. And some of my friends are like, "Why do you have such a strict routine? Like, can't you just come, to the club?" And just like, no, because I wake up at this time every day, and to wake up at this time every day, and I need to go to bed at this time, and I've missed birthdays, of close friends for this reason because I don't like to be out at night.
Yeah.
And this, yeah, but this is my experience, a bit of my experience with it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are, probably in the same situation.
Yeah. From what I understand with ADHD, it is a lack of focus, but it's because the dopamine levels are low to whatever you're doing. From what I understand. So
Exactly, and
yeah.
yeah, and
So it's
that's
kind
something
of
that
like
I've also, yeah,
it's like whatever
uh,
you do, if you're sitting down working, trying to grind it out for a few hours, it's not gonna feel good at all. It's good. You just don't have any interest in what you're doing at the time. For me, it wasn't an interesting, but I was kind of finding it tough to kind of sit down and grind it out for a bit. So I started taking some supplements. I started taking some like it's called ashwagandha root. I started taking that. That really it helps me just kind of settle down. It doesn't make the work any more interesting, but it makes me more. I don't care. That's not interesting. I just kind of zombie out for a bit. But yeah, I try. I definitely try to not reach for the medication or reach for any supplements. I like to be like just doing it, but it gets tough sometimes. You're right, like especially if we're entrepreneurs really trying to make it. You also said you can be too hard on yourself, you can be too soft on yourself. For me, I think it's kind of circular. Like I agree with you, it's circular. If you're too hard on yourself, you're gonna end up in a place where you're just like, oh, I suck at everything. I couldn't keep up with the hard demands I set for myself. Or if you're too soft on yourself, you're gonna be like, you're not going to get anywhere anyway, so you're going to feel the same way. So it's important to find the kind of middle ground. For me, I say it's circular. We have going too hard on yourself here, going too soft on yourself here. I like to get closer to the going too hard on yourself, but I never like to touch it. I like to still be relatively balanced. But yeah, I definitely agree with you, with that. But have you had any? I'm trying to think. Like maybe has there ever been kind of like trying to find the best way to describe it. Maybe like a thing that directly stopped you from doing a certain, like going to a social event because of going to a social event and it was impacted by your mental health or anything like that specifically.
sometimes it's like most networking events I go to at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if I spend the day like talking to other people, maybe my energy will be a bit low. So I've literally just come to arrive at the venue, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. So and I left, and I'm like, wow, like I always approach, like I try to approach events as maybe in this room there's a person that will change my life or that will give me the work that I want.
Yeah.
That's what and so I'm like, sometimes I forget about that just because, as you said, the dopamine levels are low, like, and I need like a lot of energy to sort of talk to people, and not just talk to people, like pitching myself. Like, it's not just a matter of saying whatever, like, whatever comes out of your mouth is fine. No, you need to pitch yourself. You need to, what you say has to make sense, and you need to find, the right, because you might also be talking to somebody who's employed, has no intention of, opening a business, and there's no way they can help you because their company doesn't have freelancers. And so it's a bit, let's say, sometimes, yeah, I've arrived at a venue and I was like, no, not doing it. So I just
Yeah.
left, and then I regretted it. I was like, oh my god, like I could have done something else, or I could have. So I'm trying to balance and definitely trying to keep my focus and like improve my focus. Like, I really don't want to resort to medication and pills. So I'm mostly scared of the addiction that comes from it. But I think that it's just a matter of better managing my energy. Like, maybe that could be like a more, a softer, as in like, I don't schedule as many calls on that day because I know that I'm going to be talking a lot in the evening, because like talking for an entire day and then in the evening you're still talking. That's a bit, that's very tiring right there. But definitely I try to approach everything with okay, so this is like, I have to prepare. This is mentally, like 3 hours, gonna be 3 hours of pitching, 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 and then remembering the people's name and then pitching, pitching, pitching.
Yeah. That's the thing I realize is one of the hard. That's kind of funny, but one of the hardest things in this life is remembering people's names. I can't.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't.
funny. I always
So
try to remember what people do, and so that afterwards, if I reach out to them on LinkedIn or Instagram, hey, it was really nice, hearing about your specific project, and and not just like a very general. Sometimes I do just text, hey, very nice meeting you. I do wish you best of luck with your business. I
yeah,
do wish you best of luck with your endeavors. If there's anything that I can do to assist, please let me know.
for sure.
So.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of running out of time here. The Zoom popped up a thing, so that kind of scared me. But yeah, I want to thank you for coming on. That was amazing. I had a great time. That was fantastic. If you ever want to hop
Thank
back
you,
on, maybe
Connor.
for another podcast, we can do a part 2. That'd be fantastic. And yeah, we just want to thank you for coming on today. And hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Thank you. You have a good one.